Hey everyone, welcome to the Creative Community Week, where we're going to be exploring from question to creation. And my name is Stephanie Howe, and I'm a coach, and I can't wait to explore how we're able to use questioning to have our students be those creators. So I want you to think back to a time. What did you love to create or explore when you were in school? Okay, so just take a moment, pause, and think about something that you created in school. And for me, I grew up in a time where there was dial-up internet, and so we didn't use a whole lot of computer time until I was in high school. And for that time, again, it was very dial-up, and Wi-Fi was just becoming kind of a thing. And so when I think about creation as a student, a lot of my learning was very passive, where I was sitting, listening to my teachers explain different concepts, and it just was not engaging for me. But I do remember a couple different activities where creation really supported the way that I learned. In sixth grade, we did this $1 million project where my classmates were given $1 million in sixth grade math class. And with those $1 million, we got to choose what we were going to spend it on. We had to spend every single dollar, but we could have 1 cent left. And so, as I was working through this project, we had to build a house, choose where we were going to go to college. We had to decide what type of furniture we needed. And so we used these ads that used to come out, on Sundays, and we had to explore and decide, okay, here's this ad for the grocery store. What meals are you going to cook for a week and how big is the family, right? And so we had this task to use our $1 million to create the lifestyle that we wanted. And I had so much fun with it. One, because I got to create what I wanted to learn. I learned about place value and how to add and subtract from my $1 million. I also learned life lessons of how much things actually cost, right? And so rather than listening to my teacher explain place value and decimals and how to subtract, how to add different decimals, how to do different parts of my curriculum, I actually got to create. I got to dive in and I got to get messy. And so again, I want you to just kind of pause. Feel free to pause the video and just kind of think for a second. What did you love to create or explore when you were in school? Again, for me, it was that $1 million project that I remember even to this day as an educator, where I was just so excited to again spend that $1 million. And then I used glue and I got to paste it into the paper and kind of show off my project at the end. And it was just a really special time where I finally felt like I wasn't just passively learning, I was actually starting to take control and start to be that creator in my classroom, in my classroom with my other peers. And so when it comes to creation, this is kind of the process, right? We kind of want to start with a question. Then we want to allow our students to research, allow them to create, and then drive impact. And so we're going to walk through a couple of these different steps on how I set this up for this activity. For this activity I have for today is I have a design your own planet activity. And for this design your own planet, first my students blast off with wonder. So now they're able to kind of take a guess of what planet is and what makes it unique. And so I like to start off with just a quick question, right? So for my sixth grade question, my teacher just kind of pondered and asked us, what would you do with $1 million? Students start to get excited and think about what would I actually do with $1 million? When it comes to this build your own planet, students are going to have these images and they have to compare and think about what is this planet, right? What is it with this planet that maybe supports my understanding? They have to guess what it is, what makes it unique. We're beginning the lesson with wonder, so getting students excited about what they're about to learn. So first you want to hook your students in before they just start in that creation process. Then they're ready to research. For me, I like to kind of come out here and build a template of, okay, what is it that I want my students to begin to research? I want them for this activity where they're designing their own planet. I want them to name the planet. Think about the distance from the sun, the size, number of moons, temperature. They're going to draw their planet. They're going to come up with interesting facts. Who lives there, right? They're going to think about how many rings does it have? What are the resources that are available on the planet? And I like to use this note sheet as my students explore. And so right here is a space where my students are able to come into this School AI space. And with this space, they're able to explore and design their own planet. Before these two activities, I might provide my students a mini lesson on, different vocabulary words such as like atmosphere, gravity, right? What does that mean for a planet to have these different features onto the planet? What does it mean for a planet to be so far away from the sun? And so do a quick mini lesson, and then my students are able to dive into this School AI space. And they're going to design their own planet. And with this activity, they're able to come in, and you can kind of see here, I've already acted as a student. So if you want to act as a student as well, you'll be able to click on a dot up here, and you can design your own planet alongside me. And so right here, we're able to kind of start off, and you'll notice that the student said, I don't know anything about this topic. And Dot's like, no worries, here's some planet facts, right? Some planets have thick atmospheres. Earth has water and land. Mars has a giant dust storms. And so based on that, right, my students are getting a power up. And so we're going to walk through of what is a power up and what does this mean? And they have a mind map where they're able to kind of think out, what do they want on their planet? Maybe they want floating mountains. Maybe they want unicorns. Maybe they want some type of feature where it rains every single day. Students are now thinking about what they would want on their planet that they're designing. And again, this mind map pops up to support students thinking along the way. And so you can see here, it'd be pretty cool if my planet had some unicorns, right? And then, I never want it to rain. Well, what happens to the planet if it never rains? And students are kind of using wonderings and questionings and providing their own thoughts as they're developing their own planet. From here, I can kind of say, I want to focus in on gravity, atmosphere, and temperature. And so now I'm able to come in and use different sentence starters to support my learning. And you can see here that I asked for unicorns to be created, and I wanted the atmosphere to be larger than what it is on Earth. And we can see these unicorns, and it might have not pictured what was in my brain. But by using this space, chatting with Dot to support my thinking, using those mind maps to support as well, allowed me to see a picture of my actual unicorns come to life. And then I can think and compare and have a conversation with my students. And I can say, okay, compared to Earth, is that what you wanted your unicorns to look like, right? Compared to horses on Earth, why can't they fly? Well, it's because gravity, right, is much higher on my planet than it is on Earth. Okay, well, what happens if we do less, right? And so students can have a conversation with Dot, and they're able to come in and chat back and forth to support their thoughts and ideas. And they're going to be able to have images be included in here as power-ups if they choose. And so as a teacher, what I'm able to do is I'm able to go to School AI. And in School AI, I can go in and create this space. And so with this, I'm going to go ahead and log in. And once I'm all logged in, I'm able to go in here to create a space. And I can create my student learning. Okay, if this is a space for teachers where I wanted them to research or learn, that would be for the staff operations or the teacher productivity. But this one is focused on students. And so now that I've got my focus, now that I know who I'm hoping to achieve, I'm able to come in here with Dot and brainstorm that lesson. So I can think about my topic. I can think about what grade level am I trying to support my students in. You can create tutors, bell ringers, exit tickets, or again, I could use this as part of my research. So as I'm kind of thinking through, I'm able to kind of go in and think about, okay, what is it that I'm hoping to support when it comes to creating this activity? So I like to first kind of just plug in here. You can have a conversation with Dot, but sometimes I want to get the best output first. And so if that's the case, it really helps to provide more details up front. So maybe I want the AI in this space to act as a scientist, right? And a debate partner. And I want students to guide them through their habitat, asking them questions, providing those realistic constraints, scientific principles, right? And so again, I can kind of have that role. The task, right? I want my students to create a planet. And so I'm going to go ahead and paste the task in where I want, students to go through and I want them to think through critical thinking. I want my students to design a life that is actually suitable for human life. I want them to also justify their choices. So what is it that you want your students to do? Then I'm ready for kind of those details. And what I can do with my details is I like to kind of take right here this graphic. I'm going to go ahead and just do a file, download as a PDF. And then I'm going to come back to my School AI page and I can grab this little paper clip, upload this file, and I can add this file in here of what I want my students to be doing throughout this project. So that way the space knows that they're going to be naming the planet. They need to think about the distance of the sun. The students need to know the number of moons, right? And so I can add that piece in as well for additional. You can also add in any additional kind of guidelines that you might want. And what you might not want your students to do as well. And so now I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Dot's going to take this information and Dot might ask me additional questions, or Dot might say, okay, we're ready to create that agenda. And so you can see up here we've got different activities where first we got to go over the topic and activity. Who is it for, right? Yes, this is for my fifth graders. Yes, fifth grade students. And then I can say, should the AI challenge students on science? Let's do both. If you hit shift and enter, you're able to add a new line. Yes, I need accommodations. And again, the more information, the better your outputs are going to be. They're going to work individually first, then as a group after the space. Okay, so again, I can add in my thoughts, my ideas. You can also use this little microphone and voice speak what you're hoping to achieve as well. And so again, I can come in and I can share what I'm hoping to receive from this lesson. And I can really kind of go through and think about what is it that I'm really hoping my students to achieve, right? And so I can either now I want to add in my standards. And so with that, I'm able to either type them in and tell Dot, or I can come over here to this little paperclip and add standards from clicking this list. So I could search my state, search my grade, search my subject, and then I could pick a strand as well. I'm going to go ahead and just type it in. And then again, I can come in and add any additional details. So when I'm on this part of this space, I'm able to say, okay, here's what I want to create. And I use Dot to help me create. So if you were hoping like, oh, I don't want to create this all by myself, you do not have to. You can come into School AI and you're able to provide this space to support your learning and to support your students as well. So when I signed in, I was able to be prompted right away by Dot. And this is where I did that brainstorming to create this. I said, okay, I want to create a hook. I want to create a space for my students. I want to create some type of connection, and then I want them to showcase. So again, after I create this activity, I'm then ready to create the space. And over here, I can preview it first to kind of make any modifications or activities that I want to support my students with. And so with this, I can come in and I'm able to design my planet, right, with my students. And I want students to use facts. I don't want it to be fiction, okay? And so then Dot's going to take all that information and then he's going to build that space for me over on this side. This is now called the agenda for the students, where I'm able to reorganize the steps. There's going to be multiple steps for my students to go through, just like they did here. So you can see here is where they first brainstorm, they research, they design, and then they're going to present. And so I can help them through different parts of that research by using a School AI space. And so again, this is that part where students are creating and researching their planet. They're kind of brainstorming. They're getting feedback from Dot as they're going through, just like I did here with the images. Also in the chat as well, Dot is answering me and providing more details. So first I've got my introduction, then I've got those characteristics, which again, I'm going to have that image generator. I can also have additional power-ups where I can have more than just an image. I can do maybe a doodle board where I wanted students to first draw out their planet. Flashcards if I had vocabulary words on this. Image generator, mind maps. There's also a Planet Explorer game if I wanted to set them up first with that. Presentation creator if that was a step that I wanted to use as well. Then they're going to debate and reflect. Once my students are all set, I'm able to come in here. I can choose my image. I can rename any of this information down here, but it is being auto-generated based on my conversation with Dot over there. And once I'm all set, I'm ready to publish this space. Again, students come in, they draw, they add their thoughts about their own planet. Once that happens, students are ready to do this activity, just to kind of get a formative check on how they're doing. There's going to be task cards around the room, and if you need more task cards, there's some down here with the answers provided. And they have to decide, is the planet real or imagined? They're going to walk around with clipboards, and they might have the planet is completely covered in water and floating cities. It has no land, but its oceans are heated by underwater volcanoes, right? The sky is green due to the grass in the atmosphere. Is this real or an imagined, right? So they have to think about all of these different places to think about if it's real or imagined. And these are, again, created alongside of Dot right here. I just said, hey, Dot, let's take that idea and provide me some task cards to support my students' learning. Then what happens next is my students are ready for that creation part, where now they get to be the tour guide. Students get to explore and create different activities using Adobe Express. And so now my students get to come in and they can choose a template. And they're going to create a quick commercial video in Adobe about what they created and about their planet. So right here, I was able to search for this template. And again, I want them to create a quick video where it's going through their planet as like kind of a tour guide and making a commercial. And so with this, you can kind of zoom in if you need to. But first, we're going to pretend that they are a tour guide leading a space cruise in their planet. They must pitch why their tours should visit. So they can use these sentence starters to help them with the audio on their creation. So as they're making their videos, they're able to come in and provide that audio of, on my planet, you're going to find. We've designed it this way because. And so again, as they're adding in different elements into their Adobe creation, they're able to do the research that they did on slide 3. So students are looking at their space and they're adding in their thoughts and ideas to this planet activity that they're creating. Students can come in here, and what I love about the Adobe templates is they're able to come on here, rewrite the name. They can also rewrite anything here. They can customize it to their name as well. And they can also, maybe they don't want this planet, right? They can come in and add their own planet that they used and created with School AI, or they can come in and search different activities or media within Adobe to support their creation as well. So there's a lot of different ways that students can design and create, and then they're going to share their commercials with the class. So again, they're going to use their research, create those videos, use the text to recreate it as well. And once students recreate, they are going to then go to the final step, which is the peer review, where students are going to give feedback and vote. So they're going to share their planets with everybody, and then they're going to kind of give out awards. Who do we think is the most likely to host aliens? Best uses of moon. Who has the coolest atmosphere? You can use DOT to help you think of even more rewards, so every single student gets some type of reward. But this can be a great way for students to think about, well, who did have the coolest atmosphere? Why was it, right? And using the research part, they're going to be comparing and contrasting their thoughts and ideas. Students can create this activity, the tour guide, solo, or you can have it be a collaborative activity where students research alone, but then they come together with all of their different planets and they take the best qualities, or they debate, or they explain why this planet should be this far from the sun, or why their planet should have this interesting fact compared to that. So that could be another way that you do this, is you have your students kind of first research individually, and then they come together in Adobe to create their planet together. And then again, they watch their videos, they share feedback, and they get ideas. So again, research first with School AI, they create with Adobe, and then they share and reflect on those videos. Students can really kind of think about their creations and their activities to support that learning that they have. And so if you would like the resources, here is this Google form. So thanks for joining me today. Here's this form. You'll come in, you'll put your email, your first and last name, your job title. This session is from question to creation, and you'll hit submit, and I'll email you all of the resources in this document. I hope you enjoyed learning alongside me as we explored how we're able to move from question to creation, and how we're able to research, create, and have our students share and reflect. And again, how can we create more moments where students are creating rather than just passively learning? Thanks for joining me.